This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
Good evening, India, especially good evening, Bengaluru. Good evening, Mumbai, and to all of India, and a very good morning to all the listeners and viewers from Cincinnati, Chicago, and Phoenix. Welcome to this New Year's special on Storytellers Cafe. Storytellers Cafe wishes all of you great cheers to health, happiness, and prosperity in 2021. On behalf of Bharat FM, I wish you and your family a safe, healthy, and prosperous New Year. New Year is the time to start a new chapter of life. Happy New Year 2021. Have a wonderful year, friends, surrounded by all your loved ones. May you fill the new year with new adventures, accomplishments, and learnings. And may this year bring you reasons to smile. I'm your host, Usha Venkatraman, on Storytellers Cafe. Storytellers Cafe is every Sunday at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and now because of daylight saving, 10:30 a.m. Cincinnati, that is the eastern side of the United States. And the rest of the time you can work out. A good exercise for the brain. Well, from time immemorial, dance and movement have been used as tools to express emotions and to tell stories. Performances composed of oral storytelling and movement pass down the tales and traditions of cultures around the globe. Much later in history, as dance and literature became more artistically structured, the correlation between the two art forms grew together. Today, many people still go to the theatre to see both classic or more modern productions of their favorite stories. I'm taken back to many, many years, sometime in the late 60s, when I watched Abhigyana Shakuntalam by the Travancore sisters, Padmini, Ragini, and Lalita at Shanmukhananda Hall, and also Manohar's dramas, especially Chanakya's Shabadam. They have left an indelible mark. Here the story was told through dance and drama and oral narrative. These stories and traditions are the link between the past and the present. Why do we dance? Why do we tell stories? Both dance and literature have the same artistic and primal origins: communication. We began to dance to express and to communicate, to worship and to feel. We began to tell stories for the same reasons: to learn from the past and to be able to communicate in the present. Well, I guess you've guessed as to who our guest for tonight is on Storytellers Cafe. We have a very interesting menu for you, my friends. Let's bring our guest tonight, Janani Murali. Janani Murali was born to a dancer and raised in an art-filled environment. She took to dance instinctively. Her love for the art form grew into a focused discipline and a joyful engagement through her childhood. In the years that followed, Janani has pursued the art form in various capacities: as a solo and an ensemble performer, as a teacher, as an arts writer, as a choreographer, and as a researcher. With an emphasis on holistic understanding and pursuit of the arts, Janani's work thus far has been lauded by senior gurus, critics, and arts connoisseurs. As Associate Artistic Director of Padmalaya Dance Foundation, her purpose is to further the vision of her mother and founder, that of holistic dance education, performance, and academic study. Janani is an A-grade artist of Doordarshan, an empanelled artist of ICCR. She has been decorated with many awards and titles, and the significant among them being the Narthana Shironmani, Padmavathi Puraskar, and Nalanda Nrithya Nipuna. An avid admirer of Indian storytelling. Yes, Indian storytelling, mark my words. Her dance theatre productions and multi-disciplinary performances aim to present the true essence of the Puranas and Itihasas. Her recent production, SAVITRI, When Kabir Met Quartet, Under the Banyan Tree, and Song and Story have been well received by audiences across the globe. Unboxed, her unique venture into experimental performance and creative process, has received critical acclaim, traversing with equal ease performances in the traditional Margam format to contemporary work. Janani brings to her audience her earnest learning and contemplations. When I saw a brief clipping of Janani's video, I was completely blown away. I never seen anyone express using movement and oral narrative to tell a story so powerful. So let me bring you our guest tonight on Storytellers Cafe, one of the New Year's specials, Janani Murali. Janani, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. It's indeed a pleasure to have you in our studios.
An absolute honor and pleasure to be here in your studio as well. And wishing all your viewers a very happy new year. And let's hope that 2021 brings us a lot of kindness. And as performers, I think we want 2021 to be a year where we can spread more cheer and happiness as well.
Absolutely. I echo your sentiments completely. So, Janani, without further ado, can we get down to the conversations and what do you have for us on
Okay.
Storytellers Cafe?
Yes. So I remember talking to you about what we could present to your audience, and I think this beautifully brings together my two loves, storytelling and theater, and dance on the other hand. And like you mentioned, the memories from your childhood stay with you for probably stay with you the strongest. And my memories from my childhood, the most vivid ones, are that of my grandmother telling me stories. And of course, dance became a very integral part of my life. And so bringing the two together was quite organic and natural to me as a performer in the past few years, wanting to reach out to people who may not already be aware of the nuances of a classical art form like Bharatanatyam. And yet, this is a beautiful world that I have been introduced to from right from my childhood. So I wanted to take this beauty, the subtleties, the nuances, all of it to audiences who may never have seen Bharatanatyam before. And also to take the stories that I have enjoyed, the stories that I now enjoy reading or writing, to marry the two together and take them to my audience. So what I thought I'd present to the audiences here today is one of the works from my production, Song and Story. Like the name suggests, it brings song and story together. The song that I've chosen is a beautiful Javali. A Javali is a lyrical poem that is very often seen in a Bharatanatyam repertoire. Um, This is a song. We'll see what the song says as you will watch a little later. So bringing a Javali into the world of story. So I will present to you this piece that I call The Lone Bird Knows. It's a hot afternoon. Do you want me to start right away or do you have anything to ask
No,
me?
but please do start right away. So I'm
Oh,
going to take myself off and the screen is
okay.
yours.
All right. Okay. So let's go to a hot afternoon, not chilly like it is now, but on a hot afternoon, Lalita has just finished her afternoon chores. She thinks this is a precious time that she keeps to herself, doesn't let anybody into this time. She has just sat down, but she has a lot running on her mind today. But before we go into her mind, it doesn't seem like she has her time to herself. Her husband calls her. Let's take a look. Lalita sent her husband away on work. He might return in a day or two. But who is it that stands at her door now? This is the man she is in love with. A love that she bid farewell to, actually. Let's travel to a time in the past. A hot, dusty road. A road that winds its way through scanty pastures and thorny thickets. As the road winds its way, there is one scanty tree. and a lone bird sits on it. In the eerie silence that surrounds, this lone bird surveys his land and cozies up for a night. The sun seems to have dimmed over the horizon. But all of a sudden, he sees some swinging lanterns. And then the trot, sounds of carriages coming by. What could an entourage of carriages be doing on this hot, dusty road in the middle of nowhere? You are quite funny, you know, he says too. But it's night and the carriages can't go any further. Halt! The carriages have halted for the night. All of a sudden, there are shelters. The chatter of children. An annoying chatter, thinks this lone bird. But then, there is this one carriage that's overcome by a certain stillness. A stillness that belies the outpouring of emotion that is to follow. Our lone bird is curious. And there in the carriage sits a new bride. And after what feels like 1,000 years, a little drop of a tear. Lalita lets it stay on the back of her right hand. She looks deep into it. What she sees is not the warmth of a tear, but a deep well. A well in which she sees all the laughter that she freely laughed, all the happiness that she took for granted. In that deep well of a tear are memories that seem to be drowning. In that deep well of a tear, she sees the hope she had when she lay his hand in hers. And in that deep well of a tear, she sees that hope dissolving. With a flick of surrender, Lalita knows her duties. It was as if the lone bird read her mind. You will have to wait another lifetime before you can make your decisions. Did a bird just speak to her? Lalita doesn't know what that means. She is a new bride. Night has befallen and she must go to sleep now, but within her red eyelids, she sees memories that must be forgotten. She will open her eyes to a new morning, where life has been preordained. But does Lalita live a preordained life? I think we should find out. Lalita's love stood at her door, hesitating to come in. She doesn't know why. She says the time is right. My husband is away on work. My in laws are too old, they won't even hear us. Come in. He still hesitates, and she says, if night befalls, then you and I can't be together. Come in. And he's still worried about what she doesn't know. She says, well, you came in my dreams last night. Let's make those dreams come true. Well, he has to give in now. Lalita's story is not an ordinary one that we hear very often. The choices that somebody like her makes may call for a frown from some, may be looked down upon by many. But that's the beauty of Indian storytelling. That's the beauty of the music and dance that we revel in. That these are perspectives of so many different kinds of people, and they are what they are. It's our choice to look down on them or cherish them or just be objective of them. But these are stories that exist nevertheless. And these are stories that we must tell. So that's The Lone Bird Knows from Song and Story.
What a lovely story, Janani. The lone bird knows.
Yes.
Truly. This story reminds me of the folklorist A.K. Ramanujam. He too has written not something similar, I wouldn't say, about the husband's shadow. One of my favorite stories I like to tell. So, my question is, because out of curiosity and wanting to know, so how did you work on this story? Like we said, the purists may frown on it, but Krishna and Radha and the gopis, and there are so many stories in our epics which do, linger on this. So, where is the story from, or how do you source your story, and how do you script it?
Yeah. So the Javali is about 100 years old, written by Patnam Subramanian. And it talks of a woman who is married to one man and is in love with another man. Um, in society today, that is not something that is considered normal by the vast majority of people. But again, let's also understand that a woman very rarely makes decisions that she wants to make as well in a vast majority of society. And Lalita's story was just that. She was not allowed to choose her husband. She was not. She was told to bid farewell to a man that she was completely in love with. So who is to answer for the questions that we ask? The questions are very difficult to ask whether what she does is correct or not. It's not a simple yes or no. Who is to answer these questions? Does Lalita answer them? Or do we seek answers from the people who married her off in the first place? And who were these people? They were her family, right? And these are stories that continue to exist every day, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. And it points to sometimes uncomfortable realities that we must acknowledge. And I think in acknowledging these realities, we can then try and find our answers and move into a future that's a lot more conducive to an equal environment for everybody involved, whether it's gender, whether it's class, whether it's economic status or social or cultural status. We have to ask ourselves, and I think the arts, whether it's storytelling or music or dance, can be a beautiful way of holding that mirror up to ourselves. Comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Isn't that what they say? So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why I chose this story. The story I had written in response to this Javali. In fact, the Javali is a favorite one that I have performed several times on stage, and every time there are different reactions from the audience on why somebody chooses to do a piece where you are talking of extramarital affair. But there's another thing I'd like to point out that a lot of these songs, you have to look also beyond the literal. Because as much as the song is about a woman who seems to be having an extramarital affair, um, a lot of these ideas are used as metaphors philosophically. So, marriage, a loveless marriage, is usually used as a metaphor, and you see this in poetry across a lot of mystic saints who use marriage as a metaphor for domestic life, the bondage that humans find themselves in domesticity, and they use love of the extramarital or love that is frowned upon by society to actually denote the seeking that the human has for the divine, because it is not an easy equation that you create for yourself with divine, and it's a journey that's extremely chaotic. So this song also, on another very metaphorical and philosophical level, is about human bondage and wanting to break away from this bondage, wanting to get rid of your domestic life and wanting to invite the divine into your home, who seems to be standing at the threshold and just not wanting to get into you. So it is that as well, and I think that's the brilliance of of the legacy that we have here on our soil.
Absolutely. You expressed it so beautifully and succinctly that I don't have, I mean, I do agree with you. It is philosophical and it is truly divine, and we have to look beyond just what is. So, is this your need to find relevance for audience beyond the connoisseur? Because I remember you writing to me about this, that is tying your love for theater, language, and dance to create your own variety of dance theater.
Yes. Yeah, like I mentioned, it was about taking, like I said, I get so passionately involved in the poetry that I find pretty much in my hands, and such a vast wealth that we have inherited that you have to share it, and it's not just about the people who understand the grammar. The grammar of Bharatanatyam is highly stylized, and there are so many subtleties and nuances that there are a lot of my friends growing up didn't understand what I was doing on stage. And for me, it was important to share this love that I had with them as well. And growing up and as a young adult, the conviction in wanting to take Bharatanatyam um, to vast audiences became that much stronger. And I think that each one of us finds our way of doing it. And as much as I revel in the format of Bharatanatyam as it continues to be presented over the last decades, this is a way in which I find I connect with. Sometimes with children in stories, sometimes with people who don't know dance, or sometimes storytellers, sometimes somebody who just wants to sit back and enjoy a story as well. And there's so much to discuss from it, right? And so much to dialogue on. And that again is something that I absolutely I want to spark off.
Thank you. Very well said, Janani. Wonderful. Storytellers Cafe, the listeners and the viewers would like to know about your journey into this field. If you can just tell us, I know it's another story, but if you can tell us in brief, how did you get into dance? I understand your mother is a dancer and you have a dance school, but to explore it further, right?
Yes,
So that has to be a passion for this. So can you
yeah.
just tell us about it?
I think that, like you mentioned, even as you were introducing me, Dance is something that was always around me because my mother was a dancer, and there was a lot of dance happening. But at the same time, I think it was an environment that was completely open and with no compulsion whatsoever to dance. And I think that that space and the freedom that I had to dance or not was probably what has held me for this long and allowed me the space to explore dance in my own ways. And I think it's the freedom that my mother's given me to look at dance through my own experiences, through my own convictions, and to take it further from there. And I think whether it's performance, whether it's dance education that we do at the foundation, all of this comes from what I understand at this point in time. And I understand that it's an evolving growth and understanding of the arts for me also. So it's been a very organic process. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a few years before I chose to spend a large part of my time towards dance. But it's been in a very organic process of making choices and allowing really the arts to lead me into one or the other moment from here to the next.
Thank you, Janani. Thank you. Lovely that you found your passion and you could move from, a pharma industry to the fine arts. When I was talking to you in our conversations, over the period of time, you mentioned about Savitri. I know, and Savitri and how you have depicted her in three, do I say three forms or in three realms? Or how would you? I'll let you only talk to us about
So
Savitri.
Savitri was a production, a large dance drama production that my mother had conceived many, many years ago. And I was very little at that time, and I played the role of baby Savitri. So the little Savitri who comes from the yagna and is absolutely cherished in the kingdom. So it was a large dance drama on the story of Savitri and Satyavan. And for people who do not know the story, she's a princess who falls in love with a banished prince and chooses to leave her kingdom and go live with him. But there is Narada does come in and tell her father that, look, this man is going to die within a year. So why would you want your daughter to marry him? But Savitri is adamant and she goes on to marry Satyavan. But her will is so strong that she decides that this is the man who's going to be my husband. And I will fight to have him in my life for as long as I can. And she fights who? But the Lord of Time, Yama himself. And when Yama does arrive to take away Satyavan's life, Savitri gets into a duel of sorts with him and ultimately tricks Yama into giving back her husband's life. And for me, the story of Savitri, of course, from the time I was a child, has evolved. As a teenager, I understood the story differently. The way I heard the story from my grandmother or my mother was again different from the way I started to understand this character Savitri as an adult. And when I presented Savitri, I wanted to then explore Savitri for what she represented. And there is this huge magnum opus work by Sri Aurobindo on the philosophy of Sabatri. Now, that's not something I claim to have read, but it's something I know that most people will tell you. It will take many, many, many years of dedicated studying to even begin to understand that work. But for me, it was important to introduce my audiences again to that aspect, that Savitri is a philosophy. Uh, that that Savitri represents love, that Savitri represents strength, that she is willpower. And for people who want to believe that she is a goddess, she is that. For people who want to believe that she was a princess, she is that. And again, it was this beauty of multiple realities that exist within our stories. And yet, how they so beautifully hold within them a philosophy that keeps getting transferred from one generation to another for thousands of years. Um, it's whether we call it science or philosophy or art, uh, the boundaries blur when it comes to things like this. Um, science and art. I think we're beginning to understand that they're a lot similar. But I think the Indian stories also represent that they bring in science and art and understanding reality for what it is in such beautiful ways. Because, like Aurobindo says, it is only in human form that you begin to connect with these abstract thoughts and ideas. And that's what Indian storytelling does.
Yes, Janani, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I haven't read Aurobindo's Savitri, but after listening to you, I will definitely explore that
Yes, yes.
as well. And
Mhm.
all I know is for all the South Indians there, we do the Karadiya Nombu. All the women pray for their husband's longevity, for his good health and life. And we do this Savitri Nombu, as we call,
Yes.
kind of fast we maintain and we pray. And so all South Indians I know would know the story of Savitri and Satyavan. And as you grow, as you emerge into an adult, then the questions come. Oh, so what does the man do for the woman? So I don't know, is there a third thing that you explored on the story of
Uh,
Savitri?
so one of the questions that I've gotten from my audience that has always stayed with me was a rather amusing one. Was one person asked me, why didn't Savitri just move on? It doesn't matter. Okay, she married somebody and he passed away, but she could have just moved on. But I think that's not the point of the story. It's really about one person's, whether you're man or woman, it's one person's willpower to hold on to something that you want. And you do it the right way. It's not about being arrogant about it or being trashy and bashful about it, but you do it the right way. And it's that strength within Savitri that was my story. It was not about gender. It wasn't about a man or a woman. It was just a person. It could be any of us wanting to hold on to anything that we love, not necessarily another person. It could be anything that we absolutely cherish and want to hold on to, and to have the willpower and the strength to do it. Um, I think the story generally tells you that you can beat the Lord of Time itself. I don't think anybody else has ever fathomed such an idea other than Savitri.
Absolutely. I agree with you. To me, being steadfast and also perseverance definitely pays. I look at the story and I take these qualities from that story.
Yes.
Wonderful, Janani. You have a beautiful way of expressing yourself. I have watched dancers on stage. I'm a great lover of Indian dance, Bharatanatyam. Actually, Bharatanatyam. That's what, and then came the other forms, but I'm partial towards Bharatanatyam. So I know you have another wonderful piece for us. And before I go on to that, I also want to tell my viewers that please do drop your comments on the chat, and Janani might answer you, but I'll definitely try and answer you. So please do let us know from where you're watching, and how you liked it and what would you like to know more. So with that, Janani, we can move on. Is there something else that you would like to share with us?
I think one of the godheads, if we might say, that has captured the imagination of every single generation over thousands of years has been Krishna. And whether as a child or a lover or a teacher or a preacher or a king, in every one of his roles, he has been celebrated in so many different ways. So I thought we'll end with a little story that we're all familiar with of Krishna being caught by his mother eating mud, and what happens when she asks him to open his mouth? We'll see.
Yes.
Krishna was a child, divine. And there were moments when Yashoda was shown this divinity. And those moments were gone because she went back to being his mother. But when Krishna opened his mouth and Yashoda saw the entire universe, and in that universe, she saw another Yashoda looking into her son's mouth. And in that another universe, universe after universe after universe of fractals and infinite ones at that. Whoever said that we couldn't understand math and science hasn't heard the song and dance of Krishna. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Krishna, the Lord of Math.
Wonderful. Excellent, Janani. What a lovely note to end our evening with, Krishna. Can you just repeat that line again? Krishna?
Krishna, the Lord of Math as well. Whoever wouldn't have thought of that?
Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't think of that. I do a science storytelling. So, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, he is infinite, he
Yes.
is the supreme one. What a wonderful, I really enjoyed it. We can go on and on. There is so much to explore, and you're doing a brilliant job. And any parting words? Is there something that you're coming up this year in this new normal? Have you been working? Has it been a challenge for you as a dancer?
Yeah, I think as performers, we do thrive on being with our audience and reciprocating and engaging with that energy. And I think being away from live audiences and performances has been challenging for everybody. But we have found our ways. We're using the digital medium to reach out to our audiences. It's teaching us new skills in cinematography and video editing. So that's something that we have learned through these past few months, and I hopefully 2021 will allow us to meet our audiences in person as well. And I think the digital medium has been great in a way of reaching out to people across geographies and not being limited by that. So yes, 2021 will see more of my work, especially in the experimental format. There is one production that hopefully will premiere this year called Padam. That will see, yeah, again, a lot of contemplation, a lot of dialogue that I hope to spark off with that work. And it's been an absolute honor to be on Storytellers Cafe. And I've loved sharing what I had to share. And yeah, hope to see everybody in person sometime this year. Mhm.
Yes, Janani, even we have enjoyed having you as our guest and our special delectable menu on the house. And I also want to tell you, please do follow. Janani has a YouTube link where you can see many of her stories, clippings, and a particular one that I love is that song from Hum Dono, Abhi Na Jao Chhodkar. Beautifully. I mean, it's my all-time favorite, and do watch her. And friends, Storytellers Cafe will be back next week with another wonderful guest. And please do write your comments, and we would love to hear from you. Stay safe, stay masked, and hopefully this year will bring us good tidings. Like Janani says, yes, the virtual medium has taught us so much. There's so much to learn. And in one way, it eases because you're not physically traveling, but it also limits you. And in such art forms like storytelling and dance, music, you need to connect with your audience, you need to see them. And that is what is limiting here. But I think we have surpassed that hurdle as well. And let's hope for a brighter future. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Janani. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being our guest.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.